Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Uncropped, where we talk about our previous films and the experience making the film, the results, what we would change, all that kind of stuff. Today we are talking about Hide and Sleep, and I have a special guest, Dylan.
Hey, what's going on? I'm Dylan,
And
director of Hide and Sleep, Mike's best friend-ish.
So we're gonna look back and watch that film right now that we made in 4 hours?
Not even.
Not even.
2.
In our sophomore year of high school, so we will be...
High school.
College, okay. We'll be right back after watching the film. Okay, so we just watched it. I forgot how much I love that film.
It is one of my favorites. I always say it's... People ask me, hey Dylan, what's one of your most favorite films you've made? I always mention this at some point because it's... To me, it was two friends bored one night, made a movie together. How it happened was, it was just us hanging out. It was like 11 o'clock at night, 10, 11, I don't remember. And Mike says to me, hey Dylan, got a script or something, got a film? And I said, yeah, I do actually. The film was originally called Nightmare, about a guy just having a nightmare.
I like Hide and Sleep better. It sounds
100% better. But originally it was a film I wanted to make the previous year. I didn't get a chance to. Had to change it a bit due to the new dorm we were living at. And then I said, Mike, you want to be in it? He said, yeah, great. He produced it. We edited it. He did most of the editing. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's, looking back again, it's not a cinematic. It's not going to win any awards, but it's one that, it's just a special one.
But it's like the perfect amount of cinematics. If we had gone too far with it, it would have looked corny or stupid.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I want to mention is the fact that we were sophomores in college in this. We hadn't taken any real lighting courses. We hadn't taken sound yet, or I hadn't at least. And this, I think, is one of our best films. And that's saying that over 4 years after we made the film. And we've made so many since then. We've made at least, 15 since then or something?
Yeah.
So, one thing I want to bring up is the use of Dutch angle is one of my favorite aspects of this film. I hadn't used it much, and I hadn't heard of it much. But then Dylan started doing it in this film, and I was like, okay, that adds so much.
And it's an experimental, it's a horror film. For those who don't know, a Dutch angle is used to make the audience uncomfortable, kind of give feelings of tension, unease. I mean, imagine watching a whole movie with your head tilted.
Yeah,
so
it makes you feel very weird about it. If you have that forced on you as a viewer, you immediately feel, okay, something's going on.
Yeah, and we shot this movie in about an hour, edited it in about an hour, put it up on our YouTube channels.
Yeah.
And loved it. And the soundtrack, when you watch it, is also a leftover song I downloaded for another film. I was like, this doesn't fit in. But then I watched it again. I'm like, wait a minute. There's a little creepy girl singing a nursery rhyme. Kind of have the Inception horns. Those are unintentional. They're just in there. Thank you, Horror Music World.
Yeah.
For your music. I use that website all the time. And so it just works. And Sydney, thank you for your little giggle at the end.
I don't think any other soundtrack would have been good for that. I think that was the best one we could have chosen, that you could have chosen, because you already had it ready to go, and I was like, okay, what are we going to use for this? He was like, I got one. I'm like, sweet.
I give you a lot of credit. You were the one who suggested this, and... we did it, and I feel very proud of it.
Yeah. And the flashing back and forth,
that was your idea.
I love that. When we were editing, I was like, oh, wait, what if we tried this? And I tried it, and it actually came out well. So I was thinking that is awesome. And one thing I noticed is, I don't know if it was intentional or not. I think it probably was. I just didn't realize it until now. That we changed the black and white as it gets more and more dramatic.
It was
probably intentional in your mind. I just didn't realize
that was intentional and not in my mind. It was.
I made that choice?
You made that choice.
Man, I just can't remember what I was thinking back then.
So thank you, Mike.
One funny thing about that is when I was editing and I was like, and the flashing and the black and white, I think it kind of got my brain going, which is kind of why I don't remember, because I was so in the moment with it and I couldn't remember. One thing is the lost slippers. If you notice that,
Yeah.
I literally was running, and that was like my first acting in a film, really. I didn't have to say a single word. That was awesome. So I did lose my slippers. That wasn't intentional, I don't think.
No.
It was just a part of it, and then I saw it happen. I was like, wait, Dylan, get a shot of those as an added bonus.
I might have directed this film, but Mike had as much input as I did, so it's really our film.
Yeah, and that's one great thing about working on this together, is we really know how to incorporate each other's ideas in such a way where it's not like, I don't think that's right. It's more of a like, ooh, what if we tried this, added in together while also keeping the other person's idea intact.
And that's what filmmaking is.
Yeah, and you have to be able to do that in order to make a good film.
Collaboration.
Yeah, exactly.
And this was, again, before we had taken more of the higher up classes, collaborative filmmaking, sound, lighting. Looking back at the movie, it's not the most well lit. It was just in my dorm room.
Yeah, in the first shot it was overexposed in the lamp, but other than that, it looked pretty good to me.
This is not a perfect film.
Oh,
but
absolutely not.
It's a favorite.
It's one of our favorites, though, especially for our skill level at the time. Like, we could make it so much better by now if we, like, reshot it. But I love the amount of skill that we were able to show from what we knew back then. That was 4 years ago almost. And
I can't believe it.
We did really well on that.
I'm crying my memories. Actually, Mike, I wish you were there, but I was teaching a class one night, and I was in a big auditorium, and I hooked up my computer to the projector, put Hide and Sleep on the screen. You know, I had the surround sound, all the speakers, and I watched it, and I'm like, and I showed some people, some students in the class, and they loved it, and I'm like, we shot this in 1 hour, and I wish you were there, because you could have heard all the sounds,
Yeah.
all that.
Were there, like, questions? Like, did people ask questions about it?
Not really, it was just maybe, like, 3 or 4 students. I was, they were filtering in. I said, hey guys, want to watch one of my films?
Yeah.
And they liked it, but...
So, my question about this film, what was your mental process when writing it?
Oh, this is a tough one. The thing is, I'm into horror films. I'm into experimental films as well.
Yeah.
So this was, as you could tell, Mike, this was kind of very much an experimental film. Like, but also... And a lot of my films deal with dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, because I've had some really messed up dreams. So when I was writing it, at night, a year before we'd made this, I said, you know what? What would a guy dream about? It was originally called Nightmare, as you know. So I'm like, what would happen in a nightmare? So, guy or girl, he or she goes to sleep, and then he finds himself in this place. He's being chased by something. The soundtrack was not part of it, but then it just ended up fitting. But I said, no, it fits because there's this little girl counting, hide and seek, like 1, 2, I'm coming for you, like Freddy Krueger. So he's being chased by her, and, in the whole film, he's hiding, he's running. What's happening?
One of my favorite parts of the soundtrack, now that you mentioned it, is... I think it says 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Should I start to count again? Maybe yes, maybe no. Am I coming? You don't know. And then the beat drops like dramatically. It's my favorite segment of that little soundtrack, because in my head, as a viewer of this, it's set up where this may be a recurring thing. This happens to him all the time, because starting to count again, that means going through the whole process of being scared, having that fear, and having to run away. Having that happen again, it'd be scary.
To answer your question, what was your process? Yeah, I explained it a bit, but really it was just, okay, in my head, I'll write it all down and just run with it.
Yeah, it's like start out with like bullet points or whatever, and then expand on it.
Yeah, there was, actually the film was a lot more I guess you could say, violent. It originally had him being chased by like a figure, like wielding a knife.
Oh.
He'd wake up. I think we shot it like the third or fourth draft.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but I didn't know that. That's how it was originally.
Yeah, the first draft was originally just like one page. It still was one page, but being chased with a knife, he'd wake up. Before he'd wake up, like someone would be holding a knife to his throat.
Oh,
he'd wake
yeah.
up, be like, "Oh, nothing's there," and he'd find the knife in his bed. Him holding the knife himself. And I'm like, "Yeah, I gotta find someone who can do this." You know, obviously we're in school, so it's not like we can be
You can't
walking
really just
around.
have a knife and that kind of stuff.
Can't
Yeah,
be walking around with guns or
you have to adapt
knives.
to your surroundings.
So I said, okay, take out the knife, and I'll make him defenseless, even more defenseless. I'll make whatever's chasing him unseen.
And all in his head.
Yep. Or is it in his head? Because at the end, what do you dream about? I don't know where I got that, by the way. I was just like,
I think that's really cool. I think it was a cool thing because I remember when we were editing this, we were going back and forth about whether or not to keep it in. You were like, I think you should do it. I was like, it seems kind of pointless. But now that we added it, I really like it. I think it's kind of like it feels like a really dramatic commercial or something. That's not an insult at all. It's like a really dramatic.
no offense taken.
Like a dramatic commercial about like, okay, you're having bad dreams. This is what a nightmare looks like to somebody. What next or whatever. I think that's an interesting way to think about it.
And another thing that I don't know if you've experienced it, Mike, but I know I have, is sleep paralysis. I bet you've heard of it.
I have heard of it. I have not experienced it myself.
A little paranormal lesson here. I'm a huge fan of the paranormal, but I also got the influence from that because I have suffered sleep paralysis. It's, you're asleep, you're paralyzed, but you're awake in a way. You can't move, and people have reported seeing like hooded figures, shadows. They felt like a monster kneeling on their chest, like suffocating them. During one sleep paralysis episode, I saw my dead cat. It was walking around I was like, "Hi, Spice."
That's
like, "No, come back. And then I wake up, I'm like, "What the hell?" Wow.
Yeah.
Like, Spice,
That must be
my
weird.
cat.
Holy cow.
I'm like,
I don't think I've ever experienced that. Not that I'm aware of, but that's insane.
so again, what do you dream about? But that's
a great question.
That's where I kind of got the idea. And you know this, Mike, but doing this hide and sleep film started, I guess you could say, a series I've made, like 1 to 2 minute films of dreams. Excuse me.
Ringers off.
And Mike, I don't know if you know this, but sorry, hold on. Mike, I know you know about this, but Making Hide and Sleep has started this series that I've created, like 1 to 2 minute films about dreams.
Yeah.
Like, I've made other films about a person having a weird dream or finding themselves in a weird land, walking through a field of like dead flowers or something.
Yeah.
And all that experimental black and white horror-esque landscape, and it always ends with a question: what do you dream about? Or something silly like, seriously, what do you dream about? Or I ask you again, what do you dream about?
What if you were to put a title to this group of films? What would you title it?
I call it the Dreams Trilogy. So original. Shouldn't say trilogy, series, because it's just...
So what are the names of the films in this? We got Hide and Sleep.
Hide and Sleep. I made one called Dreamscape.
We made that.
We made
together.
that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to take but I have to take all the credit.
We are actually making one tonight called Insomnia.
Insomnia.
We're filming tonight, which is exciting. That's why we're able to be here together and talk about it. But we're really, really excited, and we're gonna have an actor who hasn't acted in any films before, and it's gonna be very exciting in a sense because. Let's just say I know him very well.
He's an Oscar winner.
Oscar the Grouch.
Is it Keanu Reeves?
That's him in the
Is
background.
it Keanu Reeves? No, it's not. Who's acting? I want to know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Someone named
Who is it?
Enzo.
Schmonzo?
Enzo.
Shanzo? Ronzo? Who's the Zoe, man?
So yeah, we have
Zoe.
that film coming out.
Yeah, Zoe's acting.
So we have Enzo acting in his first film, which we're really excited to see how that goes. Because, again, Dylan has this film ready to go, and we're kind of repeating a hide and sleep scenario. We're planning on filming it in a span of 2 hours and editing it either tonight or tomorrow morning.
And we're doing it with more film knowledge.
Oh yeah,
More lighting. It's just going to be 3 of us, so it's not going to be
more cinematic looking camera lenses.
A better camera. We shot this film, on my Canon T5i.
Which shoots 1080-30.
Yeah.
And this is going to be shot on 4K 24.
Yes.
So it's going to be really cinematic.
It was, Mike, I give you so much credit here. Like, you asked, do you have a film? Said yes, and we just decided to go with it. No holding back. I also remember one of the RAs was like, hey guys, what are you doing? I think his name was Colin or something.
I don't remember.
Oh, no, he was nice, but he said, hey, what are you guys doing? Oh, we're shooting a movie. And he was like, oh, good luck. Having fun. And he saw us carrying all the tripods, the equipment. And so people could see us in action. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, it's really cool because you think about the fact that there are, maybe 100 film majors at that school, which is like 3,500 people. So of the 100 filmmakers, we happen to live in the same hall from each other. And we were able to just conveniently do that. Like, I don't think we planned living together. Maybe we did. Like, at least down the hall, like, same floor or whatever.
In a way we did, but we didn't actually live together.
No, we, lived on the same wing. Yeah. But no, that was one of my favorite films. I think it was great. Thank you for talking about it with me.
No problem. It's one of those films where the stars aligned, we made our wish, and it came true. It's one of my favorite films. It's one of Mike's favorite films. I've shown it to everybody. Actually, funny story is, the next day after we made this film was Parents' Weekend.
Oh, yeah.
So our parents came up, and we had a little premiere party for them.
Yeah. So that's going to be all for today's episode. It's been a really fun time talking about this, Dylan, because honestly, it genuinely is one of my favorite films, and it was my first time really acting, so I appreciate you giving me that chance.
And thank you for helping me bring my vision to life, our vision.
Yeah, so I think next episode, you and I are going to be back, and we're going to talk about a different film called The Last Stream.
Yes. And here's one last question before we go. What do you dream about?
We'll see you next time on Uncropped.